to Jeff.
Yeah, Chris, welcome back. Jump right into a team question. How confident or concerned are you about several factors after such a long layoff? Conditioning, timing, rhythm, those sort of things.
I mean, you always worry about everything, when you're a coach. So, while I've been away, the assistant coaches have done a really good job of trying to continue to keep our guys' conditioning where it needs to be. And, ultimately the true test will be tomorrow night in a game situation. But, I think, when you're in our position, my position, you worry about all that stuff.
Jeff? We'll go to Shannon.
Is this me, Kenny?
That's all right. I'll come back to you. Shannon?
Okay.
Welcome back, Chris. How was your quarantine? How did you spend your time, and what was it like to kind of coach the team from afar when they return to practice?
Well, I mean, I let the assistant coaches coach the team. Certainly I watched our practices and, offered feedback afterwards with the staff and tried to plan the practices as best I could. But, I spent it in the basement and for the first 3 or 4 days, pretty sick. So I'm just trying to, get back to being myself here. It's been weird when you sit in your, basement for 10 days and don't see the light of day. So, yeah, it's been strange.
Go to Jody and then to Jeff Greer. Jody, you there? All right, Jeff Greer.
Chris, I'm curious if you've had, because of this, more of a chance to watch other teams in the league a little bit more than you might have been able to in a normal season where you'd be so much more focused on your team and having the scout work done elsewhere.
No, I don't think I watched any more of the league than I normally would. My focus was on making sure our team, continued to try to get better and, get back in shape from the layoff, not necessarily evaluating the other teams in the league. We sort of know who they are, and like I've done every year, when they're on television, you sort of have a sense of what they're doing. And my focus was on our team and more or less Syracuse.
Go to Paul Rogers and then Eric Crawford.
Chris, you can only control so much, obviously, during a pause like this. But is there anything from your first long pause before the Wisconsin game that you think could help you in this situation this time around?
Having Carleek, that'll help. I think that, our medical team did a really good job of allowing guys that were, quarantined to still get in the gym. We obviously had to have heavy protocols in place for guys to be able to get on the floor on their own, be really the only person in the gym at the time. But that wasn't something that they had the opportunity to do the first time around. So when we were off prior to Wisconsin, however many days that was, 8 or 9, like our guys were not in a gym for 8 or 9 days. And so that was a little bit of a change this time around. Hopefully that pays off for our guys.
Eric?
Chris, glad to see you back. It feels like when you went on pause, it was still the middle of the season, and you're coming back, and it's basically the home stretch. You got 2.5 weeks or 3 to the conference tournament, and boom. Does that give more urgency? Not that there'd be any less for any time you came back, but is it a different feel when you know it's kind of a sprint now till the end, unless a lot of things change, which they could?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a coach, you always have that sense of urgency. Obviously the spotlight grows brighter. People talk about the tournament and talk about the end of the year a lot more. But as a coach and hopefully as players, I think you always have that sense of urgency. But it really is hard to believe that, we only have 6 regular season games that are, as scheduled right now, which is just strange. But this whole season's been that.
Kent Spencer.
Yeah, Chris, you kind of touched on your quarantine time. For somebody who's never been in quarantine in a basement like that, how maddening was it? Did you spend a lot of time catching up on shows, movies, different things like that? I mean, how difficult was that time?
I think the first 3 or 4 days, really had nothing to do with anything other than trying to get better. I could have been anywhere, and I didn't feel very well. The last maybe 4 or 5 days were a little bit, drove me stir crazy a bit. Fortunately, my wife went out of town with the kids for volleyball, so I got to come up from the basement, which was welcome relief. But no, I didn't really catch up on any shows or anything. Like I said, I try to dedicate my time preparing for Syracuse and worrying about our team's practices and planning the next one. And then, quite honestly, just trying to, get stronger.
Paul.
Question about Syracuse, if I could. I don't know that they're leading the conference, I think, or close to it in steals this year, blocks as well. I don't remember, maybe I'm wrong, but them being this aggressive in their zone in the past. Are they doing anything different or different personnel this year that's made it that way?
I think they do a really good job of just sort of knowing the passing lanes and, playing for, you trying to get the ball in certain spots, whether it's a short corner, whether it's the logo area. They generally know where you're trying to get the ball. They have really good length. I think Kadari Richmond does a terrific job. Obviously, Boeheim is very, very well schooled in it. It has long arms and quick hands. Dolce, really smart in the interior. So, it's what they do for 40 minutes a game. They understand who they are, and they do a great job of reading passes and getting hands on pass balls and blocking shots around the rim. It's what they've always done.
Go to CD and then Matt.
A couple of things, Coach. One is, do you all have any idea if this conference is going to try and fit in and reschedule any of the games that you missed? And secondly, if you know that there are players that will not be able to play tomorrow night, are you free to share who they are with us?
In part of your first question, I think the administration's been in talks with ACC, but nothing has been concrete. There's just not a whole lot of days to shove games, so I don't have really anything else to add at this point. As far as the players that'll be out tomorrow, we'll worry about talking about that tomorrow.
Matt.
I'm good. CD took mine.
Russ.
Yeah, Chris. Coach Burnell said yesterday that you had talked to him about his experience with the layoff. What advice did he give you that maybe you found helpful dealing with it?
Just trying to keep your team spirit, I think, was the biggest message from Brad. He felt like his team, was on a really good uptick. They were heading to North Carolina. They already had that monkey off their back from the previous year winning at Carolina. And then, the wheels sort of fell off, and he felt like his guys lost that spirit. And so, he sort of talked about, things that we could do and to have a good temperature of your team of how they feel coming in and, being able to do things that, keep that spirit up. It's a challenge, when guys think that there's a game on the schedule and the next thing you know, it's being postponed and the next 2 or 3 are as well. It's a challenge, but it's a challenge that a lot of programs around the country have faced.
What kind of things can you do to keep the spirit up?
I think keep practice, short, keep it very meaningful, get some individual improvement in, those type of things.
Where am I going over here?
Close it out with Paul Rogers.
One more on Syracuse. Just they keep pretty much at least 3 really good shooters on the floor at any time. Just the challenges they provide with those guys and everything else as well.
Yeah, I think their players play with a lot of freedom. A lot of confidence. I think, Alan Griffin is a terrific one-on-one player, can basically create his own shot. Elijah Hughes did that a year ago, and see a lot of similarities. Obviously, Boeheim and Gerard can really, really shoot the ball from distance. And, they put you in a bind with handoffs and pin downs from their big guys. So I think Gary A's also had a really good year, and a guy that, provides a lot of versatility at his position. So it's a big challenge, when you defend Syracuse for sure.
Coach, thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
We'll close us out for today. Thank you all.